Hello everyone, welcome to Fuse Room. I'm Alberto. How are you doing? I never ask how you're doing. That's kind of rude, so I thought I would. Now, we're here, fast and furious, to talk about Freqtube on vocals. And I'm going to use lead vocals in a rock song. I'm very, very fond of this song because this was one of my, if not my first, co-production with the band and good times. Anyway, this session is already kind of pre-mixed and so on and so forth, different stuff, but we are going to just concentrate on the singer track, the lead vocals, as I said. We start without. I'm just going to let you listen to the verse, and then I'm going to instantiate it while it's going. You hear how this is so subtle, but is it subtle? Like that little thing that it does is so nice. So even the first opening line deserves to do it without and with, just rewinding, okay? So we're just gonna do the first two maybe accents of the lyrics without and then with Freqtube, these settings. I don't even know if there's a lot to say. It is a tiny little step for men, but it's a huge step for the production of mankind in terms of music. It's just keeping the vocals more up there. There is more harmonic content, so it makes the vocal richer. There is a little bit of dynamic compression that is just putting things outside of our speakers, but it's not louder. I think I calibrated it pretty nicely where it feels bigger and thicker, but it's still respectful of the rest of the song. So we should try, I don't know, different scenarios. I'm just gonna play with it and see where we go. This is a setting that I really like. Like I would high pass it a little bit. You don't really hear it, but it's just concentrating our drive on a little bit more of the upper registry and the harmonics content. So we could try and switch actual tubes. So I could just, disinstantiate these and try this, and I can set the B preset to be the 83s. So when I switch from A to B, now we're getting the two tubes. So let's try what I really like, the 83s, but maybe the 1287 have just different vibe. I'm gonna switch while we go, as usual. I like how the 83s are mid-range driven and they do good things to the vocals, but the 87s also, they are more high mids, airy and sandy, what I usually like about tube in the high frequencies. Not extreme highs, but like right there, well, the vocals have a forefront, right? So nice. I'm gonna keep the 83s and we're just gonna experiment with a little bit more settings. One thing I could try and do is just maybe use a parallel and emphasize some high mid area, maybe drive it even more and do some parallel, but I want to try the second filter just to highlight some of the highs. So I'm gonna solo the vocals and we're gonna take it from there. Just try that.
Disappears and I hold my tongue. Say my soul. You believe in life and fall and cold. And you know, in every single step touches me, you know.
Again, it's emphasizing that color, that part of now it's really in the high mid parallel filter with just a 75% wet. Sounds really good. It almost feels like I have these rehearsed somehow, but I guarantee you that's not true. I'm just going to hit stuff around, but there's so many sweet spots that it feels like I'm either lucky or I rehearsed this. It just so happens to be effortless. I really like how it is. So we could shelf it, for example, like using a very, very wide Q and staying up here. And maybe we could do the opposite. So let's try and do that. We keep these at some kind of filtering at around 20 just to prevent things from getting out of hand. And here, instead of having a primary that was around 190, we do something else. We just take a very wide Q and we move it up here in this area so that we have a very high frequency driven primary and then a parallel that is more forgiving and bringing back stuff. We could even do something in the opposite range, which I'm going to do in a second. So fully wet first. Let's see where this goes.
Disappears and I hold my tongue. Say my soul.
Now this is something I want to just concentrate your attention on. You hear how extremely high frequency driven this is, yet if you do this with something that is not tube driven by topology, it will completely cut your head off. While this one, it's shady in a good way. So yes, it's extreme, but if you had vocals like backing vocals or you have just the need for some edge, I guarantee you this does not sound half as bad as in solo when you push it in the mix. Let's try this. I'm just gonna keep the primary off and just engage it, and then we get that jump, and then I'm gonna handle the gain.
Disappears and I hold my tongue. Say my soul. You live a life and full and cool, and you know in every single step.
How many times have you heard this sound? You can get it in this tiny little box, right? It's kind of a Pultec driven highs, but the Pultec doesn't quite drive stuff unless you're pushing a lot of gain in, which requires different pieces of gear chained together because there's no input gain on the actual QP1A, right? So this gives me an idea, which you could copy this here, right? Even though it's kind of a different setting. Where I'm here is at 11K, okay. And then we just drive these off and on. So now this is on the parallel. So what we do here, we're going to have it in the original untouched sound. So this could do the opposite actually, or maybe nothing. So we just drive the original through the tubes, but then we keep a parallel that has a higher kind of emphasis on the frequency. So let's try this.
Disappears and I hold my tongue. Say my soul. You live a life and full and cool, and you know in every single step.
Now all of a sudden we have tons of gain, which I shouldn't even say tons of gain. It's tons of vocal stage presence. If your speakers are designing a virtual soundstage, what I see here and also here is the singer is more into the spotlight, and that's just the parallel filter doing that, right? It's insanely good. So something else I want to try is just to drive the heck out of this and parallel compress it somehow, or parallel saturate it. So the plus 18 comes into play at this moment. So I'm gonna solo the vocals and we're gonna hear the effect of these. I'm just gonna lower the output because I don't wanna explode on things, but I'm gonna keep the plus 10, but then I'm gonna go plus 18 as well. So let's try this with analog mix at fully wet.
Disappears and I hold my tongue.
How many times have you used saturation plugins and fiddled with the maybe few parameters that they have, just more than 30 seconds? Some of them are super fast. I know them very well, and I still need around 30-40 seconds to just dial them in on vocals. And here, there's nothing. It's just plus 18, drive 10. I haven't changed the harmonics. Lucky number 31. I'm keeping it there. I don't care. And it just saturates the way it should. So now all it takes for us to do is to have this dry wet analog mix so that we can just find the sweet spot where it's driving itself to make itself heard in the track without being overwhelming. So I'm gonna move it back to plus 4. Maybe if I'm at the dry 100%, it's not gonna harass us, and then I'm gonna go up.
And I hold my tongue. Say my soul. You live a life and full and cool. And you know you never.
It's nice, but when it's louder, it's driving itself too much. Just because the out plus 4 is forcing us to use tiny amounts of wet signal, and it just doesn't work. So I'm just gonna try -8. Let's try this and dry it up, or we could try the 50% and try and handle things with the drive. But I'm gonna try -8.
Disappears, and I hold my tongue. Say my soul. You live a life and full and cool. And you know you never single stand touches where you know.
When I was moving stuff around, we had at least 3 different colors. Now, I liked the one that I kind of lied to you. I went back to the -4 with a little bit of wet signal. It sounded good, but we're driving things too much. So let's go at the end here and try and just underdrive the main drive component while keeping the plus 18. Because plus 18 to me means I want to have the tubes grind up a little bit so that I can blend it in parallel.
And you know you never single stand touches where you know.
Boom. And again, it will feel to you as if I had rehearsed this, because a ton of people do it. Not here, because I'm too lazy for that. Trust me. Those who know me, they know. So it just happens. There's wide sweet spots. I think the best way of describing this is there's wide sweet spots. There's a lot of leeway. It doesn't have that magic 1% movement in which you gotta stay all the time and automate your vocals all around that, because otherwise they would either sink or feel dry or too exposed. How many times, right? So thank you for asking that. I should have really exposed how Freqtube works on lead vocals, because it was an effortless attempt. And I had, I think, the right song in this second verse. When I thought about it, I was like, I gotta do that video. So thank you very much. As usual, I hope this was right on point and interesting. I try to offer you at least, 5 solutions? There's many more. You're gonna find your own. But is the platform, just fully operational or ready for lead vocals? You decide. So there's plenty of ways to do it. I hope this was inspirational, makes your music sound better than it does already. See you in the next video. Ciao. I would like to spend 2 words on why this video is possible. It happens because of my patrons. I have a Patreon in which I teach songwriting, scoring for video games, and writing soundtracks, being creative, exploring hardware synthesizers, analog outboard, virtual instruments, sample libraries, mixing and mastering. We talk about recording. There's a lot of cool people in there. Check my Patreon out if you would like to support me. It really means a lot to me, and it makes these videos and the future ones possible. So thank you very much.